The workers keep working hard, pulling and piling up the mud. One of them comes over with a bucket of water, but it slips from his hands and falls, splashing everywhere. Everyone freezes in shock. Meanwhile, a goblin commanding them is seated on a wooden platform carried by other workers. He shouts at them to move faster. He grins while one of the men carrying him groans in pain. His shoulder is clearly hurting. Life as a slave is harsh, painful, and close to deadly. The scene shifts, where a strong-bodied man stands, known as the strongest man, as he sees the champion title at a very decent age. He has held the title of best fighter for almost 2 years. On the battlefield, he clenches his fist as his opponent falls. With 23 wins and no losses, he retires as the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world's largest MMA league. The system declares his final victory. Choi Hyun-sok of South Korea. The scene shifts to Hyun-sok as he recalls how he died, hit by a truck just moments after his retirement. At present, he sobs, thinking about his lost retirement money and dying as a virgin. Approximately 30 minutes later, he starts to feel better, as he doesn't have to train and play defense matches anymore. He further ponders that he has no one, so no one will be grieving over his death. He then sits down, puzzled, looking at the light exerting from the floor. A hand then appears from the ground. An angel-type girl appears out, while apologizing for her late arrival. She then introduces herself as Rachel with a smile. She further labels herself as a headhunter who scouts the ones who died on Earth. He then blushes while telling her to brief him, calling her an angel. She then starts to explain, stating that he has 2 choices. She further says that one of them is to accept death and wait for his reincarnation into his next life as an old bachelor. She then leans in, holding his hand, explaining the other option, to become a hero and save a world that has been waiting for him. He chuckles, imagining the scene. He asks for time to choose between the choices. The angel seems anxious as she asks if he is still thinking about passing such a beneficial opportunity. She further mentions that if he listens, he will get endless benefits. She states that it's an incredible service that they are providing. He sighs with a sweaty face. He then muses that he has just retired and she wants him to fight, so he finds dying comfy. She flares up and states that she will explain it again, as it doesn't look like he is getting it. She puts on a mustache and starts stating, with the help of a toy, that if he becomes a hero, the village chief will come to his feet and serve him food. As he looks stronger than him, he will resolve the quest easily given by him. She further states that the chief will then tell him that he has a daughter, known as the most beautiful woman, and will tell him to take her, as he has nothing else to ask for. Choi remains quiet, as he might be puzzled. Rachel thinks, looking at him, that still he isn't agreeing with this. She decides to choose Plan B. She then tries to manipulate him by telling him that she is leaving and now he has to end his life as an old bachelor. He tells her not to go. She further mentions with a smirk that there isn't a guarantee that he will reincarnate as a person in his next life. This startles him, so he grabs her foot, and reluctantly agreeing to her deal. She then teases him, pretending she didn't hear it. Clutching to her leg, he shouts that he's ready. She asks if they can proceed. Confused, he asks what she means. Does she mean right now? She nods, smiling, and says the wonderful underworld is waiting for him. He hesitates, puzzled, and asks if she really plans to send him without any preparation. She smirks and tells him he's free to stay and suffer instead. As she watches him, she wonders why he's still overthinking it, even after agreeing. She then answers a call, informing the other side about his transmigration. The scene shifts to Hyun-sok being asked to wake up. He is lying on a wooden bed, pondering about the voice calling to him. He assumes that it's the village chief Rachel was mentioning. He then gets attacked in his stomach, while hearing someone threaten to snatch his eyes and command him to wake up. Choi then blurts, "Who has such a crazy death wish?" A cowhead monster asks who gave him permission to sleep in the slave dormitory. Choi wonders if this is the village chief with the beautiful daughter, but he looks like a monster. Choi then tells him that he is a hero. The cowhead asks if heroes nowadays are that naive. Choi wonders if something is off, and there's no way Rachel could have done this to him. While clenching his fist, he ponders if this is his tutorial quest. He decides to calm himself and figure out what he has to do. He then decides to act as a Korean. The cowhead looks at him, confused. Suddenly, Choi launches an attack. For a moment, he wonders if it's enough, but the creature barely reacts. It grabs Choi's leg with a firm grip, smirking at his earlier bravado. Frustrated, it squeezes tightly, sending a sharp wave of pain through Choi's body. "You'll come to your senses soon, self-proclaimed hero," it mocks. Gritting his teeth, Choi yells with all his strength, demanding the door be opened and daring the cowhead to face him in a real fight. Suddenly, the door opens and a goblin questions the noise. Choi gets startled and falls down upon seeing a real sword with him. The creature stabs his sword into the ground, threatening Choi's life if he makes any noise. He also warns that he has an eye on him. Choi sits down, thinking in frustration that if this is called an adventure in another world, he might die as a virgin for the second time. A voice from a window asks if he's a newbie. The voice introduces himself as his senior, someone who is about to be a hero. Choi stands up while the voice continues, mentioning that they are at the Demon King Army Fortress. He ignores the explanation, stunned to see that the speaker is also Korean. Desperately, Choi questions him about the situation and the reason behind all this, calling him Sunbae Nem. Sunbae yells, asking the other slaves if they are still alive, declaring that the real hero has come to save them. The slave dormitory erupts with cries for help, leaving Choi confused. He demands more information. Sunbae explains that hundreds of heroes are enslaved here. The red cowhead runs the place, and the strange-looking creature is Jark, infamous for his cruelty. All of them ended up here because of Rachel. Choi struggles to understand. Sunbae asks if Rachel wasn't the one who sent him. Choi flares up, asking what he means and whether this isn't where their journey is supposed to begin. Sunbae insists he's certain based on what captured heroes from other places have told him. Most heroes start in cities or rural villages, not in a prison like this. He points out that while heroes usually live without powers, none of them begin their journey this way. Choi wonders if Rachel is truly the reason he ended up in this nightmare. The scene shifts to the second slave squad at work. Jark sits on his wooden perch, proudly proclaiming his loyalty to the great Demon King's army. Choi mutters through gritted teeth to crush and devour the humans, sweat dripping from his face. Jark announces the end of the day's labor and smirks as he orders the slaves to return. Choi glares at him silently, vowing to kill him one day. Later, Choi walks into his prison cell. He lies down on the ground, sighing in relief, realizing the prison feels more bearable than the outside. Thoughts of Rachel fill his mind, how she manipulated him with the promise of special privilege. Staring at the wall, he places a hand against it and recalls a popular slogan that seems fitting for his situation. Suddenly, a light exerts from it. Choi ponders if it is a status window. Afterwards, it starts to show some points. Choi wonders if they're his points. He gets puzzled. What does it even mean? Sunbae suddenly reaches his hand out, questioning him about his stamina. Choi thinks if he was listening and tells him about his strength. Sunbae states that Choi told him he is a champion, but he is different. He already has over 30 while still being at level 1. Choi replies coldly that he is a slave right now. Sunbae tries to motivate him, but Choi lays down and covers his ears, not wanting to listen. Sunbae still tries to tell him something, but Choi wishes him a good sleep, ignoring everything he says. Choi meditates, wondering how, being just level 1, he is going to run away. He gets up, thinking that Sunbae has gone to sleep, and decides to check the status window once again. He notices that there are 2 places that seem promising. One is mana, which grants superhuman strength and also notes the hero points. He ponders that those fake heroes don't even know about this. He climbs up to the window, asking Sunbae if he has ever attained hero points, but he hasn't. Choi then muses that no one has ever gotten these in the first place. Immediately, a similar light starts to shine. To his surprise, Rachel appears, stating that it's been a long time. She then questions him. Can she assist him with the hero points? She starts to explain about the hero points, saying it is a feature that makes life easier. She further mentions that they can be obtained by completing quests. Choi flares up and grabs her by the waist, saying that she deserves a good beating and that he doesn't care about those points. A bit later, Rachel, tied with a rope, starts to apologize, claiming she didn't know her magic circle was broken because she spilled some coffee on it. He asks if that's the reason she became his manager. She corrects him, labeling herself as his personal fairy. He later lies down, informing her that he isn't interested in the hero business anymore. Rachel gets puzzled by his statement. He explains that he doesn't want to defeat the Demon King because he can live a normal life here. He covers himself with the blanket. She decides to manipulate him by telling him about his potential. He replies that it doesn't mean it's obligatory for him to do anything, as he never felt like it was his mission. Rachel tries to say something, but he cuts her off, saying he doesn't want to end his life like the previous one, and informs her that he is done, telling her good night. Rachel puzzles over the fact that he knew nothing except women and fighting. She then thinks about herself, that she is his personal fairy. She recalls her past, where she is assigned as his personal fairy, thinking about the mistakes she might make and that she has to stay with him until he kills the Demon King. The light-exerting thing declares that it's a final decision. A personal fairy must cooperate and go through success with the assigned warrior. She is commanded to visit Choi Kensok and further ordered not to return until her mission is accomplished. She gets shocked, realizing that she is thrown into the human world. At present, Choi questions if the fairy has to obey every word of their warrior. If it is true, then she should help him in his escape plan. Rachel hesitantly agrees. Choi immediately gets up and grabs her. The scene glides to Jark yelling and commanding everyone to wake up, while Rachel informs Choi of her access to stealth magic. Choi wonders about the reason for Jark's arrival as he sees him at his gate. Jark states that the cowhead has called him. The scene shifts to the cowhead's office, where the cowhead starts by saying that he has heard Choi is working hard these days. Jark, sitting on Choi's shoulder, gets flabbergasted by the statement. He blushes, musing that the cowhead has complimented him. The cowhead further mentions that he used to think of him differently, but now he sees him as good, and that's why he wants him to become the head slave while facing Choi. Choi thinks something feels off. The cowhead adds that he's suggesting this because the work speed has slowed down a lot. Meanwhile, Rachel asks if he's going to do it and insists that he reject the offer right away. She flares up, stating how a hero can grovel to the Demon King army. Jark gets frustrated by the situation, while the cowhead asks about the noise. Choi thanks him and asks him not to worry. Rachel gets sad from his decision. Choi further states that he will give his best. The cowhead praises him and informs him that he will write a special letter for him, then tells him to leave. Choi walks out shattered, thinking about his escape plan. A few days later, it is stated that they are the great demon army who gave their lives and bodies to the Demon King. Choi points out a servant, telling him to work faster while taunting him using his grandma as an example. He questions how he will fulfill his work today. The hero system announces that a new ability, charisma, has increased. Choi announces that being the head slave is the best, which triggers the slaves to comment on him. Rachel tells him that they're going to be in trouble if this continues. He tells her to wait and watch, taunting her that she can't understand the intentions of a phoenix like him. He once again points at a slave with a smirk for crawling. The system informs that he is about to achieve his goal. He then thanks the cowhead with a salute. Rachel cuts him off, stating she thought he wanted to escape this place, and questions if this looks like an escape to him. Choi replies to her that it's what the system told him to do. She flares up, asking if increasing the army is favorable for him. He tells her that it's the truth and asks if she wants to read it aloud. He then portrays the system, telling her that she found herself here because of someone's mistake. She denies it, stating that the system only uses neutral language. He states that it's the truth while thinking that an SS-level hero system might be different. Rachel cries out, denying it. Back to last night, we see Rachel asking him about the offer he just accepted. Choi grabs her strongly, stating that he isn't crazy, but she is. The hero system motivates him by informing him that he is here because of someone's mistake, but he has been given a chance to work on it. He'll be awarded 100 points for gaining Officer Redrun's favor. At present, Choi commands the slaves to sing the King's Third Army Corps song. Rachel ponders with fear if that it's really his quest, and only the higher-ups can change the quest's content. She wonders why she has to do this much for him. Jark approaches him and states that Redrun has called him. The scene shifts to his office, where he states that the slave credibility has increased these days. Choi starts to butter him up, while Rachel gets frustrated, asking if he really thinks it will work. The cowhead makes a pose with his hand. The hero system announces that Choi has completed his hero quest and has received 100 points, through which the beginner's hero store has been unlocked for him. Choi gets shocked, pondering that it actually worked. He further thinks that he has to move to the next part of the plan. He expresses that he wants to train the slaves, while giving a salute. The cowhead recalls his statement. Choi offers him the idea of imagining a group of elite working slaves. He tries to praise their future development by adding details. He explains that much time can be saved through this. The cowhead sighs, stating that humans are weak and not strong enough to do that much work, but agrees to allow him. Choi thanks him while blushing. The scene shifts to the prison, where Rachel cries out that her hero has gone mad with the things he is doing. She ponders how she can live being so depressed. Choi puts his hand to his ear, telling her that she is too loud. He mentions that he has a plan. She flares up, questioning if he is again planning to make her a fool. He taunts her and afterwards states that he is going to use the slaves for a rebellion. He starts mentioning the number of slaves and the army soldiers, and that there is a human alliance not far from the fortress. In the chaos, they can ask for help from the human alliance. She blushes hard, stating that he wasn't a dumb man who only thought about his body. He ignores her statement and mentions that the only thing left is to check the reward from the hero quest. She questions him in confusion, asking if it wasn't a lie about the hero quest. He makes an odd face, telling her that he already told her there's something called the hero store. He opens the quest while pondering a wish to get something good. He clicks the hero store icon. He ponders that he finally got a hero skill. The system guides him to hold his breath. He gets confused seeing this and flares up after looking at the abilities. Rachel bursts into laughter, saying it's because it's a level 1 store. She explains that if he collects more points and levels up the store, he might get something useful. He gets furious and tries to catch her. The scene shifts to the slave construction area, where Choi calls for attention. The slaves salute him. He commands them to sing the Third Corps Army song. They all start singing loudly and proudly. The cowhead watches from a distance, feeling pleased with his decision. The door to the office creaks open. Jark enters and starts to report something, saying that this human is advancing too quickly. He explains that the 8th Division is the largest unit, and if it's defeated, their enemies will come here. They might even have to give up the fortress before it's completed. He yells, urging evacuation. The cowhead interrupts, looking out the window as he recalls ancient times. He then states the first rule of war and orders Jark to go, saying he will handle Choi himself and follow afterward. Choi hears a noise and assumes that today's training will be cancelled because of surveillance. The cowhead watches them from the terrace, deep in thought, believing Choi's abilities aren't enough to stage a coup. Suddenly, the cowhead jumps down behind Choi, just as he is mumbling that there's no sudden event that will help him power up. The cowhead suddenly grabs him, catching Choi off guard. He tells him there's no time and that they need to leave immediately. Choi, confused and unprepared, asks why they're moving so suddenly. Meanwhile, the human alliance declares that victory is in their hands and begins an assault with arrows. The commander of the alliance points at the cowhead and shouts that he is the Red Nightmare, Redrun. He commands his soldiers to charge. Choi wonders why human troops are here. He thinks this might be his chance to defeat the Demon King's commander and return to human society. But then, the cowhead launches a brutal counterattack. Choi watches in disbelief as Redrun targets his enemy's eyes with deadly precision. A massive explosion follows, flames erupting across the battlefield. After the fight, Redrun asks Choi if he's okay. Choi nods and tells him he's leaving. Both armies plant their flags in the middle and prepare for battle. One of the allied soldiers turns to Sunbae and asks if he's a warrior. He nervously confirms. The soldier invites them to their side, saying warriors are treated differently. Sunbae thanks him, still confused. The warriors are welcome, and a red-haired man introduces himself as Oliven Grimer, commander of the Allied forces. He's informed that civilians have been evacuated and anyone claiming to be one has been drafted. Olaven gives the order to begin. He commands his men to get into position, then coldly declares that they will annihilate all the warriors. Hearing this, the warriors fall into confusion. The scene shifts to a jungle, where Choi and others are escaping in horse-drawn buggies. Choi cries out, bidding farewell to his second life. He notes that the cowhead eliminated all their pursuers by blowing their heads off, so no one is chasing them. Rachel urges him to come to his senses, saying crises bring opportunity. She tells him to go to their HQ and assess the Demon King army's situation. Choi snaps at her, calling her a liar. Redrun, waking from the noise, asks what he said. Choi quickly covers with a smile and starts lying. Redrun blushes at the flattery and informs him they're almost at the 3rd HQ. He mentions they'll arrive shortly and that he plans to officially enlist Choi in the Demon King's army. Choi's mouth waters at the thought, but he regrets his earlier lies. When they arrive at the 3rd HQ, slaves and workers open the gates. As he steps down from the buggy, the cowhead orders him to follow. Inside, Choi shyly remarks that it's an honor to meet the commander, but the cowhead corrects him sternly, warning him to be careful in front of the commander if he wants to stay alive. Choi is stunned. He recalls an old saying about survival and resolves not to give up. They stand before a door and call for the commander, Hemis. From inside, a voice, feminine, gives them permission to enter. Choi muses that the voice sounded like a woman. Hemis, seated calmly, smiles at them and greets Redrun, saying, "You're back." Hemis praises the cowhead for his increased muscle. In response, the cowhead compliments her beauty. Meanwhile, Choi remains lost in thought, wondering how a woman can be a commander. She thanks the cowhead for his compliment. Choi muses that he should also praise her beauty. The cowhead starts to apologize for not being able to protect the fortress. Hemis tells him that it's not his fault and it's okay. She further states that she should have made a bag out of his skin. Hearing all this, Choi feels discomfort. She mentions that he came back like a loser. Choi clenches his fists, knowing this pressure is different from anything he has ever felt. Hemis changes the topic while pointing at Choi. The cowhead introduces him to her and says that he has brought him to enlist in the official army. She leans in toward Choi, praising him while questioning if he really wants to work. He agrees and tells her he will give his best. She comments on his figure, saying he might not be able to survive here. The cowhead mentions that a human joining a demon army isn't unprecedented and asks for her permission to train him. She denies his statement with a smirk, saying she can't waste her time on a human. Suddenly, Hemis acts weirdly and changes into a venomous creature. Seeing all this, Choi gets startled and starts to worry for his life. She holds a dog in her hand and assigns Choi as its pet caretaker. Hemis introduces the dog, calling him Bobo. Choi wonders if it's not a demon and came from hell. The cowhead praises the dog for his elegance. Seeing Choi's blank expression, she flares up, asking if he didn't like the dog. Choi suddenly says that it will be an honor for him to take care of a dog as a human. She states that it's what she likes to hear. She tells him the routine and hands him over, telling him that the dog ate his past caretaker. Choi frightfully agrees to her. The scene shifts to Bobo's house where Bobo is sleeping, and Rachel asks if it's a new quest. He tells her to keep quiet as she might disturb his sleep. The hero system informs them to survive by Bobo's earnings and promises a reward of 200 points. Choi ponders that there is a problem since he has to earn affection from a pet. A new creature calls him, and Choi greets him, bowing down in respect. Thinking they are treating him like a snack, he asks about the other seniors. The creature replies that they are all dead and mentions that they both will prepare a meal for Bobo. The creature tells him to get lost. Suddenly, Bobo appears and grabs the creature. The creature manages to get out of his grip and points at Choi as his food. The creature pushes him toward the dog. Choi questions what he is even doing. The creature tells him to keep his mouth shut because one of them has to die. Choi immediately throws the creature toward the dog, saying he is the one to die, and tells Bobo to eat him. Bobo blushes hard looking at his meal. Bobo starts to eat the creature, causing blood to splatter on Choi, which is a reason he likes it. Afterwards, Bobo says to chase Rachel as his next meal. Rachel screams for her life while running and asks for help. Choi tells her not to run as he will get hungry. He opens his hero system and presses the purchase button. He calls out Bobo and offers him a piece of bone. He throws the bone very far away, telling him to get it. The dog runs quickly and manages to catch the bone. Rachel, breathless, questions the bone. Choi praises his intelligence, not knowing that Bobo is attacking him, and states that this quest should be easy. He recalls his statement looking at Bobo's hungry face, pondering that the bone wasn't enough for him. He frightenedly mentions that Bobo needs fresh meat. Rachel responds by asking if he is going to eat him outside. Choi forces his mind to think of a solution. He ponders that a magic word can calm an angry dog. Choi screams, "Walk." Suddenly, the dog calms down and starts to blush. He immediately hugs Choi. Rachel rushes to find the kitchen. Choi tells Bobo to calm down as he is running. Choi tells him the route and questions if he wants to go outside for a walk. In the kitchen, Rachel tries to smell the food and find it. She tells Choi they should ask a goblin. The goblin question to Choi is. Instantly, Bobo attacks the goblin. Choi informs Bobo that it's his walk time. The goblin wonders why Bobo is with a human while getting licked by the dog. Choi instructs Bobo not to eat him. Choi changes the topic and informs the goblin about his duty while asking for directions. The goblin shows him the direction and runs quickly. Both Choi and Rachel are in shock, pondering why the goblin is so scared. Choi laughs, stating that if the goblin really is part of the demon army. They decide to find the meat in the kitchen. Rachel asks if he is going to do this forever. Choi sits down and mentions that he had a dream where he got married. Soon he realizes something. The dog is missing. He starts to yell to find Bobo.